Gran Turismo is out in theaters, new racing film directed by Neil Blomkamp, who previously made District 9 and Elysium, starring Archie Madekwe, David Harbour, and Orlando Bloom. The film is based simultaneously on a video game franchise called Gran Turismo and a real-life story of Jan Mardenborough. He was a player of that game who took part in a competition organized by Nissan together with the game developer. They hosted a competition for the best players online and then a boot camp for the top of the top, and then the best person on that boot camp would be offered a spot on the real life Nissan driving team. In essence, the point of the experiment was to answer the question, do the driving skills acquired on the simulator or video game translate in any way to real life success? And the film retells the story of that player who, spoilers but not really spoilers I guess, ended up being that driver, Jan Mardenborough. So the film touches on an interesting point quite early on, which is that at least initially, and at least for some of the people involved, this was just a marketing exercise for Nissan, Gran Turismo, and PlayStation to create a buzz, to make some noise, to make something happen. But the fact that was the original reasoning didn't really prevent the fact that a lot of people in the program were actually in it for the love of the sport, for the love of motor racing and the competition, and that it wasn't just a silly experiment, but they really cared about the result. And I think that's an apt point because it ends up applying to the movie as well. I mean, it is definitely a marketing tool for Gran Turismo, for Nissan, and for PlayStation. A success story nicely packaged as a classic sports tale from rags to riches, from nothing to success. But that doesn't stop it from also containing a fair amount of genuine love for the sport, for motor racing, and for competition. It's clear from many of the scenes that the filmmakers do give a shit about this subject matter, and even if they're dumbing it down for the audience and some of the things don't really make sense, but I get the feeling that it wasn't just a dumb blockbuster to make. So on the one hand, you do have a fairly by-the-book story, checking the checkboxes, going through all the plot points that you'd expect with archetypical characters. But on the other hand, I mean, there's a lot of quite well shot action scenes. The action shot racing scenes, the action in them is good. There are a couple of heartfelt moments. You do end up liking and rooting for the protagonist. It's surprisingly decent, and it has its heart in the right place. I think David Harbour in particular is fantastic, gives a much better performance than this movie deserves, quite frankly, and he is really the heart and soul of this film. On the other hand, we have Orlando Bloom, who, as nice as it was to see him again after such a break, he is cartoonishly over the top. I have no idea what he was doing. I liked the pacing of the film, I liked the special effects, the story is fairly true to life with one exception. There are two key events, the climaxes of Act 2 and Act 3 respectively, and both of those events did happen in real life, and they did happen pretty much the same way, but in reverse order. So it does change the story a little bit, but here's the point. I think that changing the chronology in this particular case does not change the spirit of the story, and it does make for a much better narrative. So I'm not holding that against the film. And also, as a final sort of side point, I do think it's kind of funny that some of the messaging of the film could be read as staying at home with no plan for your life regarding education or your job, and just playing video games all day long is good, because if you believe in your dreams, one day a situation may arise which will allow you to succeed and make a living off this, which, fair play to Mardenborough, happened to him, but you know, that's one person out of thousands or millions even. So if you're a gamer kid, remember to stay in school, get a job, and not just play video games for fun. Anyway, unexpectedly decent film which I thought cares about the subject matter and presents a real story in an engaging way. I don't think it's as good as, say, Rush or Ford versus Ferrari, but it is completely fine.